Welcome back, friends. It's Professor Pandemic here with another math lesson. Today we're going over perimeter. Now what perimeter is just distance around a figure, which means we're going to have to find the outside border of a shape. Think of a farm and think of the fence around that farm. We want to measure how long that fence is. So, depending on the shape depends on how much perimeter you have to find. For a perimeter of a rectangle, there are 4 sides, so there are 4 sides that we have to add up. We start, and kind of think of it like a start and end. We start here, we start with 17.6 inches, then we go to 12 and 2/10, 17 and 6 inches again, and 12 and 2 inches. So because there's 4 sides, we have to add all 4 up, which is what you see right here. 17, 17, 12, and 12. Add it all together, we get 59 and 6/10 of an inch. Always remember the units. For perimeter, because there's no multiplication, the units will just stay inches. There won't be any squared units or cubed units or anything like that. As we get into perimeter and go to volume and area, you'll notice that these things will change. But for today, we just have inches. So let's do a couple examples and we'll see if you can do perimeter of a shape. All right, friends, I've started off with a shape just like what we did in the example, a rectangle. So take a couple minutes, see if you can find the perimeter of this shape. All right, friends, hopefully you came up with 48 and 6/10 of an inch when you went and added all 4 shapes together. Again, this is finding the perimeter of a rectangle, pretty much the most basic way to find perimeter. Let's continue now to add some challenge to this and see if you can still find the perimeter of these shapes. All right, mathematicians, I've changed it up just a little bit. I've only given you 2 of the 4 sides. Can you still find the perimeter of this shape? You can if you know the definition of a rectangle. So sit back, try to think through it, and get what you think the answer to this problem will be. If you ended up with 67 and 2/10 of a centimeter, you were correct. Remember, the definition of a rectangle, our opposite sides are equal. So if one side is 21 and 4/10, the other side is 21 and 4/10. If this side is 12 and 2/10, this side is also 12 and 2/10. So knowing the definitions of your polygons and shapes will help you with these problems, especially because most of the time they're not going to give you all 4 sides. They're going to make you show that you know the definition of these shapes. And then it's still adding together, and you ended up with 67 and 2/10 of a centimeter. Let's do a couple more just to make sure we've mastered it. All right, friends, we have a very similar problem to the last. We have 17 and 3 inches at our top side and 39 and 6 inches on the 10th. Solve to find perimeter. Hopefully, friends, you came up with 113 and 8/10. Same thing as the last problem. If we have 39 and 6/10 here, we're going to have 39 and 6/10 on this side because opposite sides are equal. If we have 17 and 3/10 for our top side, it's also going to be 17 and 3/10 for the bottom because opposite sides are equal in a rectangle. Go to add it all up. There's 4 sides, so we should have 4 numbers. 113 and 8/10 of an inch. So this is perimeter of a rectangle. Let's just do one more fun problem just to see if you can solve it. All right, friends, for our last problem, I have drawn a shape that is not a rectangle because with perimeter, you are going to have to measure more than 4 sides at a time, and you might not have decimals that all end in tens. You're going to have decimals that maybe go to hundredths or the thousandths place. Maybe you'll have one that doesn't have a decimal at all, so you still need to be able to add decimals to solve these problems. So take a couple minutes, make sure your decimals will all line up vertically. If a number doesn't have a decimal, make sure you put it at the end, so that way every number has a decimal, and solve this problem. Hopefully for your last problem, you ended up with 84 and 987 thousandths of an inch. Couple ways you could do this. Obviously, you have all 5 sides. How I choose to do this is I try to find the decimal with the biggest amount of decimal places first. I put that at the top. then I find the hundredths, and then I end up putting zeros at the end of these numbers, so that way every place value and digit lines up evenly, just like we did with adding decimals, making sure everything has the same amount so we don't get confused when we're adding. You can add a couple numbers at a time if you want, but if you do it this way, I added all 5, ended up with 84 and 987 thousandths of an inch. Again, perimeter is one of those skills you're going to use all the time, especially if you're measuring or creating something outside or building something. Knowing how to find perimeter is a very important skill as you become an adult. So I hope this lesson was useful. Again, if you have any more questions, you can always ask a teacher. But I am Professor Pandemic signing off for today, saying the more you learn, the more you know. And we'll see you at the next math lesson, friends. Have a great day.